Hey everyone, did it work? We're back. Okay. Okay, cool. Hey everyone, thank you so much. Sorry for the delay. Hey everyone. Oh, did it work? We're back. Okay. Now there's a. Hey everyone. Oh, did it work? We're back. Okay. Got all these live streams. Okay, cool. Hey everyone, thank you so much. Sorry for the delay. Is that information for you? No. Oh. Did it work? We're back. Okay. Oh. Did it work? Okay, I think we got through all of the weird reverb and everything and all the technical issues. I think we're ready to start. Hey everyone, my name is Connor T.L. Sullivan. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for coming to the Festival of Lights 2020, Festival of Lights and Sound 2020. The Festival of. I think we got through all the weird reverb and everything and all the technical issues. I think we're ready to start. Okay, now I figured it out. I had too many tabs open. This is the problem when you have too many tabs. But anyway, thank you so much for coming to the Festival of Lights and Sound 2020. My name is Connor T.L. Sullivan. I'm hanging out with Angel Castillo, who's going to be our first act of the night. We're running a little bit late because of all the technical stuff of setting up the first crazy night, so I'll jump right into it. We're raising money today for the National Bailout. And the National Bailout, they describe themselves as a collective of Black-led and Black-centered abolitionist organizers, lawyers, and activists building a community-based movement to support our folks and end systems of pretrial detention and ultimately mass incarceration. We are people who have been impacted by cages, either by being in them ourselves or witnessing our families and loved ones be encaged. We are queer, trans, young, elder, and immigrant. So our first goal today is to raise money for the National Bailout, and you can see in the description a donation link, and you can go right there and donate at any time. And we thank you so much for doing that. And our second goal today is to celebrate and deepen our connections as a community, and to celebrate all the unique and incredible individuals that we have as part of our community. And that first individual that we're going to celebrate and hear from is Angel. Angel Castillo is the New York native of Puerto Rican descent. She has been a Chipotle promoter, grilled cheese activist, TSA agent, certified EMT, and is an educator in youth development. She is currently in school working on obtaining her bachelor's degree in bio and to further transition into her career as a doctor. She has jumped out of a plane, self-published her first poetry book, has featured in showcases in New York and Brooklyn area, competed in Brooklyn Poetry Slam semifinals, and is a Millie Rock extraordinaire. She resides in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, and is the author of This Is For You, which can be found on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Lulu. At any time, you can connect with Angel through her social media handles or her email. And all of the emails and social media of people, well, just the social media of people will be in this description as well. But without further ado, here is Angel Castillo.
Hey everyone. Thank you, Connor, for that introduction. Thank you for troubleshooting. All right. I acknowledge all of y'all. Shout out to the hearts. Thank you all for tuning in. I'm really grateful. So this is my first time performing virtual. It's pretty new to me. So thank you again for rocking with me. You can click the link in the YouTube live bio to donate directly to the National Bailout Fund. All right, let's get into it. I see y'all. I love y'all too. So the first poem I'm going to do is from a trilogy I wrote called Trinity. Yeah, so you'll hear it throughout my performance. All right, let's get into it. Goddess Part 1. I have this ideal belief that I met God the other morning because of the way you laughed. First time I heard it, my heart couldn't help but record, and ever since then it's been on repeat in my mind. It is the greatest sermon ever delivered. Your eyes share the most powerful stories ever written. I read the Bible twice today just by looking at you and understood every word. You are my testament. Your skin's divine color is rich in blessings. The soil must have fallen from your fingertips, creating this garden. Melanin queen, you are prosperity. I feast on the abundance of your house, and you give me drink from the river of your delights. Because you probably don't hear this enough, thank you for sharing. You've written scriptures and placed them in my palms. I can't help but bring God with me wherever I go. Right. Woo. If y'all have any questions about my poems, definitely open to answering. Thank you for the love. Thank you for the love. All right. So this next poem is called 7 Stages of Love. This is only my second time ever performing this piece. I wrote this piece for my fiance, who's in the living room watching. So yeah, I hope y'all enjoy this. Attraction. It was more than just your looks, more than superficial stares and eyes filled with hopes. It was security. It was parked car conversations at 3 a.m. on a Tuesday. It was how your lips, shaped like the moon, lit up the night and my lungs filled with stars from your sky. It was the cave in my nose filled with your scent, sliding towards my heart, allowing it to come out of hibernation. I'm no longer being hunted. Infatuation. I've never met someone so transparent. The first time we exchanged words, I served you my life in 5 hours. You told me you ate well that night, that you've never felt so full, that my words formed a banquet, and as I offered you the seat at the head of my table, you've never felt so honored. You drank the glass filled with my tears and understood my pain. You took bites of my memories and told my grandmother in heaven that you will keep me grounded. My living guardian angel met my spirit and saw no flaws. Love. I laid in your arms, tears filling the hammock of my eyelids, rocking back and forth until the last blink I take sends them racing over the hills of my cheeks. You ask me what's wrong. I say nothing. In fact, that is the truth. Absolutely nothing is wrong, but everything is right. My heart has loved you since our first kiss. This is the moment you've been waiting for. You've been patient with me, for you have loved me before we met. You declared my existence and partnership before you knew who I was. Your kind of love is full of clarity. Your kind of love inspires mine to be wiser. Trust. the thickest layer, the wound and the healing, the roots and the tree, the bond shared and can be broken, the branch shaking under a baby bird's feet, the man scared of heights yet skydiving, a connection shared that can be broken. I've made it my job to protect you, to secure you. I've made it my job to be trusted. I can admit, I may not have always gotten it right the first time, but your patience has allowed me to grow. I've been the earthquake beneath your feet, your pain and your love, yet you choose forgiveness. You are a gift, strength and resilience embodied. I will spend the rest of my life honoring you, for you are my queen, and I will shower you with love and transparency until you are ready to crown me as yours. Worship. God changed the game by sending me you. Because of you, my faith has been restored. Because of you, prayers aren't only exercised on weak knees and wet palms. I never thought I'd meet someone who would understand the responsibility that God has placed over my life. You are 2 sizes too big for me. You've changed my life, opening up possibilities for us to break generational curses that cripple both of our perception of what love and family means. God gave me the honor of creating with you. You deserve anything I can give you because you gave me the chance to heal while still seeing the God in me. Madness. Some may call me crazy, but you are nothing short of perfection. I'm only exhausted from not knowing how to love you greater than you love me. You have forgiven the unforgivable, see me at my lowest, and yet your love for me runs deeper than I can ever imagine. You are the world. I've seen Eden in your eyes and tasted your sweet fruit and still have been loved by God. I've questioned this void in my body for years. Now understanding that I found my other half. Thank you for being my comfort. Thank you for calling me home. Death. You've given me the opportunity to truly love. You've made me more into a woman. I learned so much about myself because of you. My truth is, I'm never giving up on you. My love and devotion is to you, my soul, my protector, my sanctuary, patient leader, gentle woman, divine light. I am blessed to experience you whole. My heart feels safe because my soul knows this isn't the first time we met, and in each life we find peace, because that is the promise that peace creates. One day, after a long life, we find each other again. Thank you. All right. Thank you for the love. Thank you for the love. Goddess Part 2. I know for a fact I met God the other morning because of the way she held my hand in public. Only God could bring peace amongst the hundreds of eyes staring in discomfort. She looked each person in their face and smiled. If only they knew. I know for a fact I met God the other morning because of the conversation we had. I swear, after her words danced in my ears, my life changed. She makes me feel like I serve a purpose just by being myself. She instilled such fearlessness, understanding I cannot be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of my mind, that by testing I may discern what is the will of God, what is good, acceptable, and perfect, which is me. She helped me see what a masterpiece I am. I know for a fact I met God the other morning because by the way she said she loves me, with such assurance, such strength. She looked me in my eyes and I could see how serious she was, how her love for me was no joke, as if she shared stories about me before we met, as if I was created by her, as if I was something she spent a lifetime imagining. She said I'm what the result of manifesting love looks like. I know for a fact I met God the other morning by the way my tears rested in her palms, by the way she listened, by the way she held me in her arms, my comfort, my peace, my oasis, my safe haven. She is my refuge and strength, an ever present help in every moment given. Thank y'all. Thank y'all for the love. Thank y'all for being here. Shout out to Connor. All right. This poem is called Say My Name. This is a new piece I wrote. Yeah. I hope y'all like it. If I am ever a traffic violation turned suicide, an essential worker murdered in my home, an auntie playing video games with my nephew, in Walmart, a licensed gun owner, walking back to my car with my kids in the back seat, jogging in my neighborhood, lynched from a tree deemed suicide, a United States soldier buried under cement, protecting my son and being murdered in front of him, murdered in front of my home and misgendered, knowing my rights but being killed anyways, sitting on my porch, eating ice cream on my couch, walking home with my hood on, standing in front of my house, protesting for Black Lives Matter, murdered in my home, saying don't shoot, saying I can't breathe, hands up, saying don't shoot, saying I can't breathe, saying I can't breathe, saying I can't breathe. Write long post about how I deserve justice. Check in on my mom. March until your feet hurt. Check in on my mom. Protest until you can no longer scream. Use your poem with my name in the last round for every poetry slam you enter. Check in on my mom. Know that I appreciate you. Know that I'm grateful for your revolution. If I ever become a hashtag, use it all the time. Say my name and write that shit everywhere. Make sure no one ever forgets who I am. My first time ever performing that piece. So shout out to y'all for being here. I love you too, Ma. All right. All right. This next piece is Goddess Part 3, the last piece of the trilogy. I fell in love the other morning by the way you watched my tears slide from my eyes and make peace with their goodbye. There was no rush to stop them. Instead, you allowed them to create a bed of forgiveness in the depth of my eyelids and understand what it feels like to finally accept you whole. Did I mention how I met God the other morning? How I looked in the mirror and saw God? How I finally understood the meaning of behold? How she stared back with everlasting love? If only you knew how often I've questioned you, how long I've yearned for your blessings, how much I wanted you to know. Through silence, you captured my value because I reached out to touch you so many times and felt nothing, not realizing God is love. Whoever lives in love lives in God and God in them, and I am love. But if only you knew the amount of times I've denied that truth, the amount of times I've given up on you, The amount of times I've stepped out of my body, hanging up my flesh and removing a rib to create my equal, wondering if by redoing your work I would maybe feel closer, not knowing you've been here all this time, not knowing I am your very existence, for I was created in your image, therefore I am perfect as you are perfect. I fell in love with myself the other morning, became dust with the sun, significant and everywhere, soaking in spaces my shadow left behind, meditating on your words. I am so necessary. I am every prayer answered. I am goddess. Ooh. Yeah, that goddess trilogy was very important to me. Um Understanding that God leaves pieces of their self in everyone that he creates. Um and I am that love that he envisioned. So thank y'all. Thank y'all for the love. Take some water. All right. This next piece is titled Dear Black Woman Part 2. How come whenever you hear successful and black, the Illuminati comes to mind? As if success isn't rooted in our skin, as if gold doesn't run through our blood, as if forgiveness isn't stitched in our backs. But let's talk more about the Black woman. Life is literally buried in her womb, and with no questions asked, she bears her all in every space she holds. Her willingness to share everything about her life, but it can't be done in one sitting. It will take years to understand the depth of her, to understand the birth of her, to understand how God moved heaven and earth, sprinkled strength, perfection, melanin, and magic in a pot, poured it into the soil, and took time watering her, loving her, watching her grow. The Black woman has intention coiling through her hair. For every move she makes, breaks barriers, saves lives, gives life, creates, forgives, and loves. See, the Black woman loves even when it isn't reciprocated. But how many more years do we have to serve in order to be first for just 2 hours? Beyonce. Even as oppressed, we still sell out your stages. We still bring the hype in every moment. Shit, we'd even switch up your names, culture, and traditions without your permission. So, Karen and Brad, how does it feel to be gentrified and made better by Blackness? How does it taste under the roof of your mouth when you say its new name? How does it feel to watch other people on your property, in your neighborhood, changing shit up and being praised for it? How does it feel to lift your voice and not sing? How does it feel to finally start kneeling for our freedom? How does it feel to be moved out of your own home? See, we are born nurturers, but looking what Karen gets us. Breaking our bones for a fucking applause, rebuilding our bodies from the inside out, swallowing the pain of not bearing enough confidence to move forward after humiliation. We've been degraded, deemed less than, cheated on, deemed unworthy, betrayed, deemed unlovable. As if we don't save ourselves, as if every space we enter isn't already fucking suffocating. So to the most disrespected, unprotected, and neglected majestical creature, the most inspirational spirit, the most freeing minds, flush your system of who they told you to be. There's beauty in the struggle, beauty in the pain that was planted to get to the very location you headline now. Black woman, you are home, you are gold. You are thousands of years of history, blessing the sun when you rise and dismantling generational curses. You are everything God prayed for when the world was created. Thank y'all. Thank y'all. Right, my last piece of the night. Um, so I got a new poem. I wrote a couple days ago. Some new shit. Can y'all just say new shit in the chat? All right. So this poem is called "A Letter to My Favorite Student." Yeah. One thing about me, as a educator in youth development, I don't play about my kids. So, a letter to my favorite student. The next time your name splits someone's tongue in half, with each syllable bouncing off the roof of their mouth, making it harder for them to continue their sentence, you correct them again. You correct them every time, pronounce it slowly, say it proudly, shout it so loud your ancestors make their ignorance comply. You make them understand, correct them, and only if you want to, tell them what your name means. Tell them it means God is my strength. Show them how your beautiful Black armor has protected you thus far. You were given a guard of honor even before birth. Tell them you are the eye of God, and luckily for us, you've been here before. You tell them how your name comes from royalty, with kings and queens who blessed your homeland and protected its people for centuries only to be stolen. You read them your transatlantic love manifesto, how even in shackles, your ancestors envisioned you deeply. Hymns were sung every night and every morning till you got here again. You tell them you're a phoenix, how after massacres and fires and homes lost from the ashes, you rise and you rise again and again and again. You tell them who you are. Be loud, be proud, and never shrink yourself or your name to make someone else feel comfortable. You look them in the eye and correct them. You tell them to say it right, or don't say it at all. Thank you. All right. That was my last piece. Whew. Thank y'all. Thank y'all for the love. Thank y'all for being here. Thank you for watching, rocking with me. Thank you, Connor, for always thinking of me and for creating spaces like this virtually and in person. Reminder, click the link in the bio of the YouTube live and donate to the National Bailout Fund. Y'all can follow me on Instagram at Angel K the Poet. That's my name, Angel, the letter K, the Poet. And y'all can buy my book using the link in my bio on Instagram, or you can just DM me. I have books on hand. So yeah, thank you, Connor. You can come back.
Thank you, Angel. That was amazing.
Thank you.
I was moved to tears a few times. So we just have a few minutes before Michael comes on. Michael, if you want, you can come on and like test your sound. But I just wanted to ask you a few questions so we can all get to know you a little bit better. One of the things that I'm always really moved by with your work and your writing is this in everything, and both like the strength and the resilient aspects and the strength of like the history that you bring, but also the strength of your tenderness and like and your love for people. And I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about, do you think about yourself in that way, or do you think about your writing in that way, or is there a reason why that may like come across, so like that strength might come across so strongly across all of your poetry?
I think it's a little bit of both. It's definitely how I view myself and how I view my writing as well. Sorry, that was just that that performance was great. I had so much fun, and thank you for creating this space for me to perform for the first time virtually here with you. Um, it's definitely the impact that the world has, just everything that's going on, how I can, a lot of my poetry has to do with police brutality, and I see myself in Breonna Taylor, I see myself in Sandra Bland and Trayvon. I have, my cousin is black, my godson is black, so it's it's just a level of pain that comes with it being black in this world. um some of my poems, like I Am Woman, is definitely, more related to the LGBTQ aspect, which, I am gay, I am in that community. um it's definitely just being with my words and understanding who I am and putting that on paper.
Mm. Yeah, maybe that's what it's connecting to, is just like how beautifully you own all of those identities and are unafraid to be all of those things. And I think
Yeah,
that is so inspiring for everyone to be able to own whatever identity that they connect with.
definitely intersectionality is important.
One more question while Michael sets up.
Yes,
Uh, can you
Michael.
talk us through the process of writing a poem?
Ooh, the process of writing a poem. So for me, it's definitely understanding what I want to write about, what my theme is going to be for that piece. It's maybe I have a long list of stuff on my notes in my phone of just like random themes that I want to write about, or a sentence that I've heard, or a sentence from a song. So especially if there's a line that I specifically like, I write that down and I just write everything that comes up for me about that. Kind of like a collage. And then I'll piece it all together. It won't make sense right away. But then that's when I start adding stuff to connect it. And then after I read it, of course, I'm a big editor. So after a long process, that's when I already.
Nice. Well, that process really pays off. So it's
Thank you.
for opening up the festival, for being here, Angel.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Connor. Have fun, Michael. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, Angel. Nice to meet you again. Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear
Okay,
you.
cool.
Well,
Okay.
thanks so much for coming on, Michael.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Connor. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Do you have any like technical setup that you want to do, or do you think you're?
No, I think it's pretty. I'm just gonna play. I don't have like a mic or anything. I mean, just my computer. So, yeah.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for being a part of it, and I will read your bio and then let you take it away.
Okay, amazing.
Michael Ryder is a non-binary pop star, singer-songwriter from New York City. Short and sweet. All right, take it away.
Amazing. Well, that was incredible, Angel. I'm always like, whenever I hear somebody that can is like a craftsman with words, it goes to show that people can paint and make music with words, and it's just an incredible talent. So thank you so much, and not only your incredible skills, but your life as well. Thank you for
Hey everyone, we're back. Michael is coming back on soon. I think there's just like they are logging back in, out and in, and yeah, we'll be right with you. Hey Matt, while we are waiting for them to come back, would you like to come on and do some troubleshooting for yourself? Check your sound?
Sure. Let's see. Want me to? Let's see. Oh, right. Okay. So I'm going in through like a digital, again, an interface. So, can you hear? How's the piano sound? And then we've got a bunch of synthesizers. We've got a little drum machine bit. And guitar business. Everything sound okay?
Everything sounds good. There was a bit of a hiss.
There's a bit of what?
A hiss? That's something?
Right now?
Yeah, right now, or like a hum in the background.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I think the old power outlets in this building aren't grounded.
Oh.
Not to be too nerdy, but I'm gonna blame it on the outlets for doing their thing. It also could be the amplifier. It just kind of has a bit of a hiss to it. But everything is gonna be pretty full, so it may like lose itself. You know.
I should have prepared.
Sorry, what did you say?
I should have prepared a
We do the best we can.
I'm worried that they are performing now and playing their heart out and not realizing that they're off the Zoom call.
No. Hope not. Can you reach out with like a test?
Yeah.
Oops.
Would you like to play a song while we wait?
I could. I got a few prepared. Let's see. Do you think it'll be a while? Should I do a short one or a long one? What do you say?
Do
A short one?
try to get.
Okay, let's see. Yeah, I think I can do this one. Let's see.
Wait, can you start your video? Matt?
Sure can.
Thanks. All right, I'm I'm gonna hop off and I'll try to.
Hey, okay. Oh, thank you so much for doing that, Matt. I appreciate that. I don't know what happened. I think my internet just disappeared. I don't know.
I feel you.
Thank you. Sorry about that. I appreciate that. Oh my gosh, everybody. Matt Wood. Okay. All right, you guys. Gonna play some songs. Hopefully my internet doesn't conk out on me. Okay. You kept it on the short side. I never thought that you had it, and you are speaking it like a champ. Yeah, you got the talk to break the mountain and hold them down. I wanna go home where I'll never ever see you again, again. It's the trouble of being the champion. It's the trouble of being the hardest to get. It's the trouble of being the champion. Yeah, it's the trouble of being the hardest to get. Move past the mind and go where you haven't been. Move past the lies and go where you haven't been. never ever see your face. It's the trouble of not being the champion. It's the trouble of not being the hardest yet. It's the trouble of not being the champion. Yeah, it's the trouble of not being the hardest yet. Move past the mind and go where you haven't been. Move past the lies and go where you haven't been. Look at all those people staring in line. Look at all those people standing in line. They care for the things you take for granted. They care just to be alive. They care just to be remembered. But they have the things you will never. Move past the mind and go where you haven't been. Move past the lies and go where you haven't been. Hopefully you guys can see me. I'm sorry, I'm not a professional tech person. I didn't have YouTube up, but I'm pretty sure you guys can see me. I'm just gonna hopefully say that you can see me because I can't tell if anybody can see me, but I'm pretty sure. Musicians trying to do tech. This one's called Run Deep. Thank you, Connor. I know what you do when you're looking at me, and you think no one's looking, but I see what I see. I'm ready, I'm ready, I'm ready for you. I'm ready, I'm ready, I'm ready for you. It's gonna boil over, it's gonna run deep. When I look in your eyes, I run real deep. You got me, and everywhere that I be. You think you know me, but I gotta be a mystery. I don't even have to say a word, you know what I mean. I'm ready, I'm ready, I'm ready for you. I'm ready, I'm ready, I'm ready for you. It's gonna boil over, it's gonna run deep. Oh, when I look in your eyes, I can run real deep. It's gonna boil over, you're gonna leave. Oh, when I look in your eyes, I don't know who I wanna be. Are you ready? Change of your life. Are you ready for love at first sight? It's gonna boil over. It's gonna run deep. Oh, when I look in your eyes, I run real deep. It's gonna boil over. You're gonna ruin me. Oh, when I look in your eyes, I don't wanna be. Thank you, Connor. What's this in trying? You're so tired and bare. What's this in looking up when you don't got air? Clap your hands to the beat of my drum, the machine drum. See, we got the best of you and me. We got lonely, lost yourselves in the midst of the machine that they tore. See, we got the best of you and me. We got lonely. CAP, stolen all the night. CAP, you got the best of and me. Stolen all the night. You need to run. You need me to run. You need me to run. Yeah, you need to run. What's this in begging the kingdom share? What's this in paying you God don't care? Clap your hands to the beat of my drum, the machine drum. See, we got the best of you and me. We got lonely and lost ourselves in the midst of the machine that they drove. See, we got the best of you and me. Lonely. CP, stolen all the night. CP, you got the best of you and me. Stolen all the money. To run, to run. You need me to run. You need me to run. Night, night, night. I'm sick of the sunshine. He's king of the night, night, night. I'm sick of the sunshine. Oh, he's king of the night, night, night. I'm sick of the sunshine. Oh, he's king of the night, night, night. I'm sick. Oh, see. Sleepy, you got the best of and me. Stolen all the money. right, guys. I think I'm gonna play one more just because I know Matt comes on at 8:10, and I know I had technical difficulties. I'm sorry about that. Oh, cool. Okay. Can I play 2 more? Is that okay? Hell yes. Connor, you're the best. These are crazy times. Technology just it doesn't like art, it doesn't like magic, it doesn't like any of that nice stuff. You know, it just goes crazy and you just lose internet. But that's what this next song is about. Just kidding, it's not. But there's a music video where I'm on a boat in the middle of the Chesapeake Bay. That's this next one. It's called Breakthrough, and yeah, it goes like this. Things shambles, we left things undone. We couldn't handle it more, so we left it all on the floor. Left it all on the floor. Break through my window. Break through my window. Left me to tremble. You left me by myself. I couldn't handle any more, so I left myself on the floor. I left myself on the floor. Break through my window. Break through my window. Got to get the hell out of here. It's so time to let go. Break through my window. Break through my window. Oh, break down the pain. I don't wanna be a victim of living this way. you so much. That was a bumpy ride, to say the least. But I think because I had technical difficulties, I think that means that you have to donate twice as much on my behalf. So thank you so much. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. Thank you again, Connor, for being so generous and giving me more time. I appreciate that. I have one more song. It's a crazy time. I don't have any Christmas music tonight, but this song I felt like gave maybe some people hope and some love, and it's from the Beatles. It's one of the Beatles, Paul McCartney's finest. And yeah, it's just a crazy time because people don't get to see their families, and my heart is with those people right now. And so if you're by yourself, just know that you're not by yourself, that we're here with you, and that things are going to get better. Things are going to be different. We can't forget these times. Technical difficulties and being on Zoom, you know, we just have to keep the faith and know that there's better days ahead, and hopefully with change. So that's what this song is a bit about. And yeah, let's donate some money, and let's get the National Bailout Fund some resources that they definitely need. The song is called Blackbird, and it's coming out on December 18th. And it'll be part of an EP that I put out called All Over Me that will be released on January 15th. So thank you so much for having me. Blackbird singing in the dead of night. Take those sunken eyes and learn to see. All your life, you were only waiting for this moment to be free. To be free. Blackbirds singing in the dead of night. Take those sunken eyes and learn to see. All your life, you were only waiting for this moment to be free. Blackbird fly. Blackbird fly. Blackbird fly to the light of the darkest night. To the light of the dark black night. To the light of the darkest night. To the light of the dark black night. Blackbird singing in the dead of night. Take those broken wings and learn to fly. All your life, you're only waiting for this moment to arise. Thank you. Happy holidays, everybody. Merry Christmas.
That was amazing. Thank you so much, Michael.
Thank you, Connor.
Yeah, thank you for fighting through all those technical difficulties and coming back.
Oh my gosh. Yes, you too. You as well.
And while we wait for Matt can come on in and start setting up, but I would love to hear more about your creative process too, especially because a lot of the music that you've been putting out is really well produced and like has all these this beautiful pop sound. And so I'm wondering how do you start writing a song and when it can take both the acoustic form that you've shown us tonight and then also like the more polished and like built up sound that you put out on Spotify?
That I love that question. It's like I feel like music and all kinds of art is so multi-layered, and you can either add layers to it or strip it away. I think one of the best ways for me that I feel like I'm able to keep creating, and I try to tell other creatives, is like sometimes it's not always good to continue to do what you do. Sometimes, like for me, if I'm like burnt out or whatever, like I'll have to do something else creative where I'm exercising, I guess, like the muscles. So that's why I do a lot of painting as well. I went to school for fine arts, and it just really helps me with my process of like making music, because anytime that I play the piano, I feel refreshed and I feel inspired, and I think just having a freshness to it um, makes it good. But music for me personally takes a really long time. Like I just put out an album in September, and that those songs took me gosh, like all of my life, I like to say, that it took me to write, but it took me 4 years to record that record. So but it just happened serendipitously to come out during COVID, and I think people thought I was working during COVID, but the truth was that I had been working 4 years prior to 2020. So I started that record in 2016. So but yeah, I'm grateful it came out. But yeah, I guess just do lots of stuff that are creative. So yeah.
You ever think about music as a painter? Like, does your visual
Yes,
background influence the way that you create music?
I think so. Yeah. Like I like to think of my music in terms of like um kind of architecture, like passages and roads, and I feel like I do that a lot with painting as well. I mean, you're creating spaces, and I see that a lot when making compositions, and also, I mean, Angel is like such a perfect example about that. I feel like Angel's words are like she's making shapes and she's making corridors and putting things together, and that's like, I feel like that's what really great art is. It doesn't become just the medium, it becomes something 3D in a way. So I sound like I'm like stoned or something, but it was just these technical difficulties.
Oh no, that was wonderful. I make me really try to write a song using both the method that you described and Angel's method, and like see it
Yeah,
come out differently than my normal method. So that'd be cool.
yeah, I love that. Yeah, I can't wait to see the product.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I think it's time for Matt to come back on. We loved his little interlude. Thank you so much, Michael, for being a part of this and for playing. It was really beautiful.
Thank you so much, Connor, for having me. And yeah, everybody enjoy Matt Wood. Woo! Woo! Okay.
All right. Well, Matt is setting up. I'm going to read his bio. So Matt Wood, the wonderful man that you've all met already. He's a film composer, music producer, multi-instrumentalist. He's played across New York City with bands, but tonight he's performing for the first time as a solo artist. He's coming to us from his Brooklyn studio, which is tonight the instrument that he's playing. Everybody, Matt Wood.
Thank you.
Damn, that was incredible. Wow. I don't know if this is going to make sense, but I feel like from listening to that music, I've developed a new level of Jedi powers.
Oh yeah.
I feel like it was so movingly meditative, and then like just that guitar solo at the end just like lifted me up. So now I feel like I'm going to practice telekinesis tomorrow is what I'm saying. Like I think I was changed by it.
Well, you know, I mean, every musician. Oh wait. There we go. You know, every musician has their service to society, and I was a fan of Star Wars from the age of like 6. So all I've really been trying to do is just get more Jedi into the world and acknowledge their powers, because we'd all be better off for it, I think.
Everybody works. Wow. So
Let me do that. That was a lot of fun.
yeah, it was a lot of fun for us too. Can you walk us through it a little bit? Because you said this is your first solo show. So how did you think about it? Like, how did that change compared to an ensemble, or just how did you go about playing this room as an instrument, as you talked about?
Well, I've always set up. I had my studio always set up as a place to record immediately. Like, it was always a place where the spark could happen very quickly, because you try to write as fast as you think and have as little in the way as possible. Obviously, I would be nothing without a looper pedal. Like, those are obviously very important. I've been using them since, I don't know, I was like 2010. So I kind of like have built a compositional style really slowly and kind of organically around using them. And like, there's a lot of reference points for me too. I think it's worth shouting out, if anybody liked what I heard, you should, I don't know how many of you know them, but you should listen to Nils Fromm. You should listen to Olafur Arnalds. You should listen to, go listen to what Daft Punk did live in 2007. Instrumental music can be really awesome in a live format, and you learn the mechanisms. And so I just tried to do that as best as I can with like chord progressions I've written that I enjoyed, or and staging enough dynamics. I would say maybe the only thing that instrumental musicians got to look out for is like doing the same thing for too long. You know what I mean? Like the idea can repeat, and people go, the moment you want to watch out for as an instrumentalist is when you're like, someone's watching you and they turn to their friend and start talking about something else, because it's been going on for too long. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's true. Instrumental music, a lot of people use it as background, and when you are trying to like, what you did was a lot more captivating than I think people would normally connect instrumental music to. And I never thought of it like the dynamics that you were talking about, from like the times that you took a break to go to the piano, so that the synths or the guitar would have like a much bigger impact when it came in. Like, all of that storytelling was really beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. All of it, I think it's easy for someone like me, or someone who makes music like this, to like talk about, music itself about it, but like,
We got time for that.
Just meaning like, I always try to like, sometimes you can get caught up in the musicness of it, and that becomes the appeal. Rather, I think my challenge for myself as an artist and as a composer and as a producer is to find ways that instrumental can not just be about the music, and not just let that be the main talking point. It should be the things that you feel, the places that it takes you. I think it's a lot harder when you don't have lyrics or a certain, like a song structure as a format. Songwriting is a really big challenge, and I'm not particularly phenomenal at it. You know, I have high regard for songwriters because man, what they can do is phenomenal. But
I
you
feel
know,
like 20 minutes evidence in that, like, shooting your humbleness right now.
well, you know, I mean, it's important to know what you like and what you what kind of languages you can speak as a musician. You know, I mean, you and I have talked about our kind of equal interest in projects, like creating projects that have a long arc to them and like telling, you know, almost like it's a book but in musical form.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that like, I mean, that's ultimately where my mission is. I think as a instrumental artist, is like see how much you can tell. You know, I'm starting to work on a project now, or I started to conceive it where like trying to almost like write a movie without the movie itself. And the challenge I'm giving myself is how much information can you give a person who's experiencing it, a listener, with so that like the movie can happen in their mind's eye. It's kind of nebulous, but it's an interesting challenge. Like, what kind of visuals can you make, right? Like, what are the tools that a musician has to like create a movie or a film or a story, but without the music itself, or sorry, without the film itself. You know, The Wall is a really good example by Pink Floyd.
Oh yeah.
Like that's kind of what I'm talking about. I guess, you know, you call it a rock opera, but it's not quite that. There's no lyrics or anything. But yeah.
Do you have something that played us?
Sorry?
Do you have a story in mind, please, that you just played us?
Oh, so this one was 3 separate pieces that I wrote at different times. The first one was it was called Smudgehead. Why I called it that, I don't know, but it just was a funny title. And like I wrote that in 2017, like in a late night jam session with my own like looper pedal, and then the second one was this piano piece called Finally Free, which I wrote last year, and that one's really meaningful. Like I often think about like what is something that you've always wanted and then you finally get it, and there's this all the emotions of that feeling, right? There's like a release, there's catharsis, there's like maybe a tinge of sadness because of how long it took for you to get that thing. And then the quiet section always said like to me like, well, it's expressing that feeling of like how important that thing was to you that you wanted, you know, this like this dream or this aspiration or this hope that like it was really serious. It wasn't just bombastically like you shouting from a mountaintop. It was like your most intimate like care in the world, and all those emotions kind of wrapped up into that one piece. And the last one is the single I put on Spotify a couple of months ago called I Am. That was like a whole different version of it with synthesizers and like a really fast ending. That's not even on the studio version.
Yeah.
I'm just having fun with the live format, I guess.
Yeah, really great. One last question before we welcome on the next act. I was wondering, did you make any creative choices in this piece that are different than you normally would, or that you think like really came together? Like you were really glad that you made those particular choices, decisions.
That's a good question. And ultimately it's the arrangement of I think that last piece, the way that it took off in the end, like I Am, because it's like on this, I've always been interested in, like I mentioned, Nils Fromm. He's able to create these really beautiful sound worlds with synthesizers, and that's not something that I've spent a lot of time doing. Like for instance, like my previous band CMYK, which I spent like 6 months or 6 years, like we were writing like electro funk, you know, and we were like playing for like the Mercury Lounge and like Arlene's Grocery, and those we were like playing for that format, you know. So this was an opportunity to see if I could perform those layers and make a sort of like instrumental electronic piece that felt good to me. You know, it's hard to make. I think it's easy to make it sound good because you can just hit buttons. You know, you can hit like go and it just does whatever you want it to do on a synthesizer. But like to make it something really moving that you feel is transcending the instruments themselves. Like it's always a goal. It's always a goal to see if you can do that. And this was my first shot at it. So, I mean, I'm really grateful for this opportunity. I've really wanted to see what I can do with this room on a live format. So thank you for giving me that first chance.
Yeah, thank you for being a part of it. You killed it. It was awesome. Yeah, first try. It was amazing.
Thanks, Connor.
Yeah, even my dad said in the comments. He was commenting on the YouTube video. He was like, wonderful. Oh, man. So thank you so much, Matt, for being a part of this and for stepping in to help us during the technical difficulties too.
You're welcome. Thank you so much.
Yeah. And before we welcome the next act, I just want to remind everybody that we're raising money for the national bailout. And if you could, in the description, there's a link where you can go and donate. So I just keep trying to remind myself to remind everybody about the link in the description. And yeah, all right, now I'm going to welcome back. I'm going to welcome Akpanoluo and Ben to talk about their film.
Cool. Hey guys, can you see me and hear me?
Yep, can see you and hear you. All right, so this is a very special thing. One of the goals of the festival for me was, besides just music and poetry, I wanted to include other kinds of art forms to kind of give an opportunity for some of the other art forms to also get celebrated in the way that these music festivals have for music and art. So that's why we invited Ben, our filmmaker, here. And I also wanted to invite Akpanoluo, the MC extraordinaire, to have a conversation with him. And Ben is going to show his film, and the two of them are going to talk about it. So I'll introduce the two of them, and then I'll let Ben introduce his film. And Akpanoluo, if you have anything to add, and then we'll go from there. So do you want? All right. So Ben, it's Boult, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We were laughing about it earlier that it might not be pronounced like that. Anyway,
No, you got it.
Benjamin Boult is a film director, cinematographer, and camera operator. He studied filmmaking at Yale University and Prague's FAMU Film Academy and is currently based in Brooklyn, New York. And today we are going to be talking about Beyond the Blue Wall, which is a short documentary film that tells the story of Ken Williams, a former homicide detective and 15-year veteran of the Brockton Police Force, who decided to take action to combat racist police misconduct with his own department. And today we have Akpanoluo to lead us in that conversation. He is a singer, beatboxer, sound imitator, trombonist, music curator, data scientist at Dentsu by Day, and founder of the Soundshop. The Soundshop is a music community that fuses conversation and performance in a salon-style format, covering topics from music and the brain to celebration of Black musicians and beyond. These events attract an array of musicians and music lovers across all backgrounds, and the event's intimacy gives space for fruitful music conversation to emerge as the perceived barriers between disciplines dissolve. Akpanoluo grew up in Massachusetts, holds a Bachelor of Science in Neuroscience from Yale, and has lived in Williamsburg, Brooklyn for the last decade. Okay, take it away, guys.
Awesome. Thanks, Connor. So I don't want to give too much away about the film before we watch it, but this is a film that's about the need for some pretty substantial changes to our criminal justice system, and we're going to hear about one particular lens and one particular story that it shows, unfortunately, what happens when someone within a pretty nasty system tries to do the right thing and can get punished for it. And we can talk a little bit more about that once it's over. Anything else you wanted to add or touch on, Akpanoluo?
No, not at all. I'm just really looking forward to talking to you about it after we screen it.
Cool, me too.
Yeah.
All right, I'll start sharing my screen. Cool.
When you join law enforcement, they ask you, to write out in a paragraph or two why you think you want to join.
I'll make sure to turn your videos off after it gets started.
Was that, is it working?
I can see it now. Yeah. But yep. All right, cool. Start from the beginning.
I lost the Zoom window for some reason. Hold on a second.
Well, I might have turned off your video.
Oh, it's okay. Were you able to hear the audio coming from the video when it was playing?
Yeah, there's also, when you do the share screen, there's a little checkbox for share audio as well.
Great.
Share audio in the bottom left of the share screen.
Okay.
When you join law enforcement, they ask you, to write out in a paragraph or two why you think you want to join the police force. I sat there and, I wrote in cursive. My reasoning was to be able to help people, to actually help people, who may have felt marginalized and maybe lost a little faith in law enforcement, but to help them, have some faith in the system again. That was my response. My name is Ken Williams. I worked for the Brockton Police Department as a detective, homicide detective. I did that for 15 years. Early on in my career, it became very apparent to me that color meant something in the Brockton Police Department. I tried to partner with a black officer, and our request was denied simply because the city had a policy at the time that two black officers could not pair with each other. We were told straightforward that the city of Brockton was not prepared for two officers to respond to calls in neighborhoods, particularly white neighborhoods, with two black officers responding. It was also pretty clear to us there probably wasn't anything that we could do about it. The rank structure was predominantly white and male. Specialty jobs at the time were mostly concentrated with white people, specifically white men. Unless you feel comfortable that you have people within that agency that you can go talk to about this stuff, who do you talk to about it? Who do you speak to within the bubble to correct it? Then one day in 2007, I remember this guy by the name of Jose Cimito. Mr. Cimito was a black man. And Mr. Cimito came in and he said, "Hey, officer, I, at 4 o'clock this morning, was falsely arrested." And I said, "Okay, tell me the story." And he said, "Well, 4 o'clock this morning, Sergeant Lon Elliott came into my place of business, falsely arrested me, called me African jungle bunny, nigger, and some other things."
Hey, everyone. Just because there's a little bit of lag between the video and the audio, I'm going to share it from my screen from Ben's website, bluewallfilm.com. And hopefully that will help us stop that lag. So 1 sec, I'm just gonna share from my screen. If Ben, in the chat, if you could tell me if it's coming through clear.
Okay, I'll let you know. Thanks.
When you join law enforcement, they ask you, to write out in a paragraph or two why you think you want to join the police force. I sat there and, I wrote in cursive. My reasoning was to be able to help people, to actually help people, who may have felt marginalized and maybe lost a little faith in law enforcement, but to help them, have some faith in the system again. That was my response. My name is Ken Williams. I worked for the Brockton Police Department as a detective, homicide detective. I did that for 15 years. Early on in my career, it became very apparent to me that color meant something in the Brockton Police Department. I tried to partner with a black officer, and our request was denied simply because the city had a policy at the time that two black officers could not pair with each other. We were told straightforward that the city of Brockton was not prepared for two officers to respond to calls in neighborhoods, particularly white neighborhoods, with 2 black officers responding. It was also pretty clear to us there probably wasn't anything that we could do about it. The rank structure was predominantly white and male. Specialty jobs at the time were mostly concentrated with white people, specifically white men. Unless you feel comfortable that you have people within that agency that you can go talk to about this stuff, who do you talk to about it? Who do you speak to within the bubble to correct it? Then one day in 2007, I remember this guy by the name of Jose Sumito. Mr. Sumito was a black man. And Mr. Sumito came in and he said, "Hey, officer, I, at 4 o'clock this morning, was falsely arrested." And I said, "Okay, tell me the story." And he said, "Well, 4 o'clock this morning, Sergeant Lon Elliott came into my place of business, falsely arrested me, called me African jungle bunny, nigger, and some other things. And then when I got to the police department, at 4 o'clock in the morning, I could hear from my jail cell other officers saying that I wasn't supposed to be there. There was no warrant, and those officers did nothing. They kept him locked up." The flagrant violations that he explained to me upset me. His case, unlike many of the other cases from people that I had talked with in the past, should be something that Internal Affairs very easily should be able to see was a problem and hold somebody accountable. That's when I was like, there's enough proof here for me to go out on a limb. I helped Mr. Sumito navigate the Internal Affairs process. That's uncommon in itself for a police officer to be talking to a citizen about what is occurring behind the scenes in the police agency.
Is that against the rules?
Yes. The blue wall of silence is police officers not going outside the police sphere, the bubble, and not to offer anything to the public that is seen as detrimental to law enforcement. And that's actually a policy. It's like a unified front to the citizens that everything that happens behind the veil of policing is okay. I remember a captain one day when I was a detective telling me, "We have the best policies." And I said, "Okay, Cap, why is that?" He was like, "Because our policies are written in such a way that no one can ever be held accountable." Who do I report to if that's the captain telling me that? Part of me was kind of naive, I guess is the best way to put it. At the time, I was a great cop, and I didn't think that going out on a limb for him was going to cause me a problem. But in the eyes of the police department, whenever they discovered that I was assisting Mr. Sumito was the point of no return. That's when I began to experience retaliation for assisting Mr. Sumito. What I experienced crossing that thin blue line, that us versus them, was something that ended my career. The writing on the wall for me came after I had filed paperwork with the city disclosing that I had PTSD that I was experiencing from a deadly force incident. And the city denied my claim, and I only had but so much time left on the books before I would go no pay and would lose my job by not being able to report to work based on that injury. And that ended my career. It's pretty remarkable to me compared to all of the things that could have possibly happened to me that could have harmed me on the job. The thing that harmed me the most was a citizen coming to me and saying, "Hey, officer, I got a problem. Can you help me?" It's important that all the small cases get the same attention as the big cases because everything starts small and ends up big. They all started with the police officer that killed George Floyd in Minneapolis. It starts with police officers that had 18 citizen complaints prior to that death. There are many instances of abuse that lead up to those flashpoints. What's happening in the country now is a moment, and it's kind of important for people not to get caught up so much in the moment because the movement's been happening way before Mr. George Floyd's death. People have always complained about being abused, and law enforcement has always been at the center of that abuse. Unfortunately, in order to handle and change a system, sometimes you have to start anew. If we built a house on a cracked foundation and we start to see it leaning, the foundation's crumbling, at some point in time we're going to have to understand we might have to knock down that structure and start all over again because it's a hazard. And until we have a real honest discussion about our roots as a country, we can't talk about destroying that foundation and starting anew. At the end of the day, nothing changed at the Brockton Police Department. The sergeant's no longer there. He committed a wrongful act. I'm no longer there. I tried to blow the whistle on it, or did blow the whistle on it. Mr. Samito settled his claim, so there's no record of there being a discriminatory arrest or false arrest. And the city of Brockton did nothing to change the policies that protected everybody in that system. Unfortunately, whistleblowers to a certain extent are treated as skunks at a picnic. We don't have parades for whistleblowers. So we've got to change that. If we could change that, I think we have a chance of really changing how policing is in America.
All right. Thank you for watching, everyone. I'm going to welcome back Akpanoluo and Ben to have a conversation about what we just watched.
Awesome. Thank you again, Connor, for having us, and thanks again to Ben for sharing your work and coming on for this conversation. So to get into it, I was curious, like, what inspired you in particular to get into the topic of policing?
Well, I think we started making this film in June,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a really fraught time with the Black Lives Matter movement, and the whole country was still really reeling from the death of George Floyd and other victims of police brutality. I think there was a sense of just like, what can I do? I think as a filmmaker, this felt like probably the most meaningful way that I could personally contribute to the conversation. I don't personally have the experience of a Black person in America, but Ken does, and I was connected with Ken, and I thought his story was very compelling. One, but because of his perspective, and also because he has that insider experience within the police department. He can offer something that I don't think we've heard a lot from, or we don't hear very often, which is sort of what goes on behind the closed doors and what sort of pressure police officers face when trying to act with moral integrity.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I think what you're saying is completely spot on. It's definitely a story that we don't hear often. But not only in the fact that it's a police officer coming forward about what's taking place behind the scenes, but I also think in addition to that, the fact that he's so upfront about how he feels about things. I definitely wasn't expecting to hear a police officer effectively say, like, we need to tear down this system. Like, I would have expected, if a police officer is critical, they might say, talking about, there's bad apples and we need to figure out how to address that. But for him to just say in very clear terms, like, this is a system that is built on a broken foundation. We just need to build it up again is definitely a unique perspective that I didn't expect when I came into watching this film. So I was curious whether was that a perspective that surprised you coming from someone who was in the police force?
Did it surprise me? Maybe a little bit. I think Ken's story, we included the bit at the beginning about his idealism and writing that paragraph when he was first starting out on the force. And I think he came into the force with a lot of really good intentions, and saw it as a way to help people. He was actually hired as a part of a expanding community policing effort, and I think he thought policing could do something that he found out that it wasn't actually set up to do. So in that respect, it's not surprising to me that he would feel a little bit betrayed by this organization that he tried to give his life to, and I didn't find that surprising. I could imagine being really upset and being really frustrated with something like that, if I was in Ken's shoes.
Yep. Absolutely. So for myself as a non-filmmaker or documentarian, and I'm sure there's a lot of people here who are not from within film, I was wondering, were there certain creative decisions in terms of like the visuals or the color scheme or lighting that you kind of used to try to convey the message of the story?
Yeah, that's a great question. We had a really awesome, talented team working on this project. One of the things I was most excited with this project was the animations that we were able to make. And we had a really talented collaborator for that. And the visual kind of inspiration we used was Soviet propaganda images, specifically kind of like really early Soviet Union, 1920s, 19-teens. Propaganda imagery, and we subbed out the red color for the blue color. And I thought that hit on something. First of all, I just love that visual style, but I also thought it. When you think of the Soviet Union versus the U.S., you kind of think of this like backwards, authoritarian, just place that you wouldn't want to exist, versus America, freedom, the land of opportunity. And I thought that imagery was kind of nice because it showed a little bit of the contrast, and that I think we walk around in the United States. Some people walk around thinking this is a land where things are just there for you if you're willing to work hard for them. And I don't know if that totally plays just from the visual imagery, but that's part of why I liked it, because I think it raises a little bit of that question. Drawing that.
Yeah, absolutely. That wasn't something that stood out to me on first watching it, but now that you've mentioned it, I just had that moment of like, oh my goodness, that's exactly what's going on visually, and I think it absolutely makes sense, and I think it was very, very beautifully done. I really liked what you did with the animation there.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then, in terms of, I think the message that you're trying to convey, and you kind of get, I'll leave it to you. What would you say is the biggest takeaway that you want people to get from this film?
Sure. So I think the biggest takeaway is like I want the audience to sort of question, how can we expect police officers to act with moral integrity when they're punished for doing so? And to really take a look. I mean, what you want to come away from this film with is an understanding that something needs to change, that we can't just keep pushing on with the current system, making little tweaks. Like, we really have to grapple with the fact that it's a systematic failure. And this is just an example of someone. I mean, you want a police officer like Ken Williams. You want someone who you can trust has the back of the people that he's trying to serve. And when you see what happens to a police officer like that, it just shows you, when he gets pushed out of the department in favor of kind of this insular protective police policy, it shows you that something needs to change.
Yeah, absolutely. I had initially had a question for you about, how your approach to the film changed over the course of filming it. Mm-hmm. But I wasn't aware that this all started at around the start of the George Floyd protests. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess I am still curious, like, whether your own opinions have have changed, over the course of doing this film, or what sorts of things you picked up along the way that you kind of integrated into the film that you didn't expect that you would?
Yeah, no, it is a good question. That how has my perspective changed? Because when I first became aware of Ken, it was actually not really related so much to this story, but related to a lawsuit that he had brought against the city of Brockton, the one that the department that fired him, and there's kind of there's an interesting federal case that he used to try to like prove that the city of Brockton was misappropriating federal funds to create in a sort of a racist police environment. But that quickly changed when I heard about this decision that he had made to help this citizen, and I was like, this is what I think we really want to hear about. This is the crux of who Ken is as a person. His decision to go out on a limb. It would be much easier to not help this citizen. And I think, I guess to answer your question about what changed for me, though, one of the big realizations I had was learning about that federal case that he made. The way that the police departments can protect themselves from this sort of meaningful change that needs to happen is really sinister, because they can actually use taxpayer money to settle these cases. So in the case that Ken was talking about in the film, that case was settled, and the guy, Mr. Smito, who was arrested, got a monetary settlement from the city, and there's no record of any wrongdoing on the part of the city or of the officer who falsely arrested him. And that means that it's very, very difficult for any sort of meaningful change to happen when there's no record of wrongdoing. You can't take the city or the police department to court and say you have a systematic practice here that's violating people's civil rights, because there's actually no record that ever happened. And the way that they can do that is by using taxpayer money to pay the people who they've mistreated or wrongfully arrested or abused. So it's kind of sinister in that they can use your own money to continue this system where you don't have a voice, you don't have probably the representation and the police officers that you want.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of parallels in terms of, just more broadly in terms of our legal system. It's just like, the people who have power and who have money have the capability to sort of, just by leaning on the system to get away with a lot. But I think with policing, there is that extra, sinister layer of, they're able to use taxpayer funds to sort of get away with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I guess in light of, everything that you understand currently about our policing system, and, the sorts of things that have been revealed to you about policing from working on this film, do you think, are there particular policies that you think have like the potential to make like meaningful impact, or is it just like there's just like a whole slew of things that we kind of all have to attack at once?
Sure. I mean, I'm no expert on how to institute policy change. I'm sure it's very complicated, but yeah, there's definitely some stuff I came across in the course of making the film that sounded to me like this is at least worth a shot. Having a national registry of police officers so that a police officer can't commit misconduct in one municipality, get fired, and then go get hired as a police officer 1 or 2 states over. That seems easy. There's some conversation around insuring and having liability insurance for police officers, so that if a police officer continually demonstrates that they will not behave as they're supposed to, then they are no longer a third party insurer will no longer issue them an insurance policy, and they can't be a police officer. Another one that I thought was pretty interesting was to give subpoena power to civilian review boards. So there are, in a lot of cities and municipalities, there are sort of these groups or oversight committees that supposedly have some sort of relationship with the police, and are supposed to keep them in check, but oftentimes they don't have the power to subpoena people to really do the investigative work that they would need to. I mean, they can make a recommendation at this point most of the time, but the police then get to do what they want with that recommendation. So giving those boards a little bit more power to really look into the misconduct. I mean, the problem is that we have the police to police themselves, and they're not really doing a great job.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. So were you, so you're currently in Brooklyn, and were you in Brooklyn, back in June when the George Floyd protest started?
I'm actually in Massachusetts right now. I've been up, I usually am in Brooklyn, in Williamsburg as well. I came up to Massachusetts at the start of the pandemic, and that's actually why I even was put in touch with Ken. He's a Massachusetts guy as well. So I was up around here, made the film, going between Boston and Brockton, and yeah, I've been up here the whole time.
Got you. What was it like being in Boston / Brockton during that time?
During the like George Floyd in early June when it was really blowing up, I think we were still under pretty serious lockdown measures, and I went to a few vigils, but I'm not sure I can speak to the vibe of Boston overall. I was holed up in the house, but filming in Brockton, Brockton it's a quite economically depressed city, and I just spent a couple hours one day driving around the city just to get a feel for it, and it was so clear. I mean, the prison and the police department were so monolithic, and it was just concrete towering structures over these. You can see business storefronts that are empty and abandoned. It was just, I'm from Baltimore, and it definitely reminded me of Baltimore in that way. You can just see the life blood is just not there in the community, and it really sucks when someone like Ken gets pushed out of that organization, that community, someone who seems to have their heart and their head in the right place.
Yeah, absolutely. And Boston, Baltimore are two cities that I'm very familiar with. I grew up in the Boston suburbs, and then I spent a number of summers in Baltimore, so
awesome.
I'm also familiar with that. Yeah. So I think that there's a question from the chat. This one comes from Maria Correa, and she asks, was Ken able to gain employment in law enforcement elsewhere? Sometimes when one is blacklisted, that can be hard. Brockton is an MA, correct? Yes, Brockton is in Massachusetts. But yeah, to her other question, was Ken able to gain employment in law enforcement elsewhere?
So thankfully, Ken was able to gain employment. He's not a law enforcement officer within a police department, but he acts as an expert witness in police misconduct cases, and as an impartial expert witness. He's not only in cases where he's trying to prove the police did something wrong. He'll also come in and say there was no misconduct if that's what the evidence shows him. But he's since been able to start a successful business as an expert witness. So we're happy that he was able to find something else in another place to use his expertise.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I'm glad that that Maria asked that, because I think that's a really good thing to sort of take note of. And yeah, I'm definitely happy that he was able to find employment elsewhere. So yeah, I'm curious whether how closely you've been following, just the latest in terms of like what policy has been getting passed, and whether you see some optimism in terms of like recent developments. I mean, from my own perspective, I've kind of lost track of all the things that have been moving, especially like leading into the election. when the election kind of sucked all of the air out of the room.
For sure.
So yeah.
For sure. Yeah. I think as we were probably mostly all still following when we saw like Minneapolis had formally disbanded their police department, I believe. There have been a bunch of cities that have made serious cuts to the budget, and we'll see in the long run what happens with those. But I think you're absolutely right that it is unfortunate to me that this was so in the public consciousness in June and July, and then where our attention spans are pretty short now, and we're hoping that this film keeps the focus on this. And Ken said it best himself in the film. This is not just Black Lives Matter. This has been going on as long as there's been video cameras to record it. I mean, this exact dynamic of police abuse, and it's not super sexy to think about all the time. It's not tweets, and it's unfortunately it often comes in the form of really upsetting visual imagery and then blowout reactions to that. And I think it was amazing that the Black Lives Matter movement was able to channel that attention into the meaningful change that I think it did. But I also think it's really important for us to not just feel like, oh, we did it and we fixed racism and police misconduct. I think it's important to keep checking in.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, and what you said just then about the sort of like the long fight in terms of restructuring how we do and think about policing. I think that the way that you went about doing this film really has that kind of long-term vision in mind, because I think that a lot of the protests in June kind of they rely on the very legitimate and very raw emotions of a reaction to a particular event. Mm-hmm. And I think that's definitely important for getting things going. But I think that there's also a place for films that kind of in a very sort of sober and as you mentioned, sort of like less sexy way, kind of deconstruct and expose the sort of mundanity of like what takes place behind the scenes.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think it's
yeah, a lot of it's really unsexy. Like the way that even the way that Ken was pushed out of his department, it wasn't like he got called into the chief's office and fired on the spot. It was like, no, he had like a medical claim that got denied that usually would have been accepted, and then technically he wasn't fired, but it's like, no, he is being treated differently because of his approach to policing. And sometimes it's really tough to like digest that and shine a light on it in a way that people will look at. But I think it's important that that's one of the messages we have with this film for sure, is that this is a small case. Nobody died in this case. Nobody had permanent damage to them, or even the guy who, Mr. Smito, got his case settled, and he doesn't even hold anything in particular against the Brockton Police Department. But Ken's life was changed forever because of his decision, and that's really the takeaway. That's what drew me to this story, is like that somebody trying to do something good gets pushed out, and it is important to look at the mechanisms that get used to wield that power over someone like Ken. Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, we're definitely going to need to keep the pressure up on the new administration when they come in. For sure. It definitely does not end. No, definitely. That's a great point. It's not just a celebration. I think we all had our day of celebration, but it's important to keep the pedal to the metal. Yeah, absolutely. So Tom Sullivan has chimed in. He says this film needs to be entered in film festivals. So to sort of throw a question onto that, where have you been sort of sharing this,
And have you entered it into formal sort of like film entry?
Sure. Yeah, it's a great question. So we decided to premiere the film online. You know, a lot of times with short films, you'll try to go into festivals first and then see where you get accepted, and then eventually the film makes its way online. We thought it was important to get it out sooner than later and not have it just kicking around festival circuit for a while. So we decided to publish it back in early November, and we've also since began. There are certain festivals that'll still allow you to apply even once it's on online publicly. So we're currently in the process of applying to festivals, and on our website bluewallfilm.com, we also have a Indiegogo page set up, and that's helping us to pay for festival fees as well as pay for promoted posts on social media to help us spread the word. So if anybody wants to contribute, every dollar is definitely super appreciated, and also contribute to the bailout.
Awesome. And building off of that, I think even the website for Blue Wall Film is exceptionally put together. And I think I haven't spent much time on the site, but like I immediately kind of like I kind of like take in the vibe of the film through the website. So that branding is absolutely amazing. But I think that there's a number of different calls to action. There's the Kickstarter, as you said, but so I guess the question I want to ask is, what are all the different ways that people can help support this film, help get it seen, etc.?
Yeah, thank you for that question. Go to bluewallfilm.com. You can see the whole film there. You can find the relevant donation link, and you can also find a bunch of other ways that you can help us out. Even if you can't contribute monetarily, you can help us to spread the word by sharing on social media, and we have sample posts and make it very easy for you to do that. And thank you for the compliment on the website as well. I agree that it's very beautiful. It was also made by one of our very talented collaborators. And to further plug this festival, the website was made by someone who will be performing as a musician later on in the festival. I think on the 7th.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yep. Very talented web designer and musician.
Awesome. Yeah, I think one of the great things about being involved in creative communities is that you're able to see all of this sort of interdisciplinary intersections, and I feel like this festival captures this very well.
Sure.
Yeah. So I think with that, I think we'll close out the conversation.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I really appreciate all the questions.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much for your time. This was great.
Of course. Thanks for watching the film, and please go to bluewallfilm.com and check it out.
Awesome.
Thanks, guys. Oh, that was so sweet of you to say at the end. I appreciate it. It actually it leads me to like my closing segment really well, because this festival is built. It's sort of a Hanukkah pun, the Festival of Lights and Sound, because Festival of Lights is like the name for Hanukkah. And I thought originally I had this idea that I would like light a candle each night to represent that we had like completed one of the 8 crazy nights. But instead I decided to go with a quote. So I wanted to read a quote that kind of encapsulates a lot of what you all were talking about, and sort of, especially at the end there, about the interdisciplinary aspect of things and just about trying to bring community together. So it's also, it's from a Christmas sermon. So this is Martin Luther King in 1967, the Massey Lecture number 5 is also known as the Christmas Sermon on Peace. And he says, "It really boils down to this, that all life is interrelated. We're all caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied into a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. We are made to live together because of the interrelated structure of reality. Did you ever stop to think that you can't leave for your job in the morning without being dependent upon the most of the world? You get up in the morning and go to the bathroom and reach over for the sponge, and that's handed to you by a Pacific Islander. You reach for a bar of soap, and that's given to you at the hands of a Frenchman. And then you go into the kitchen to drink your coffee for the morning, and that is poured into your cup by a South American. Maybe you want tea, and that's poured into your cup by a person from China. Or maybe you desire to have a cocoa for breakfast, and that's poured into your cup by a West African. And then you reach over for your toast, and that's given to you at the hands of an English-speaking farmer, not to mention the baker. And before you finish eating breakfast in the morning, you've depended on more than half the world. This is the way our universe is structured. It is its interrelated quality. We aren't going to have peace on Earth until we recognize this basic fact of interrelated structure of all reality. So thank you, Akpanoluo and Ben, and Michael and Angel, and everyone for watching and being part of this interrelated structure of reality with all of us and being part of this community. We've got 7 more crazy nights for you all to tune into. Tons and tons of amazing acts. Over 30, possibly 40 different people come to like share their souls and their work. And I couldn't be more grateful for all of you performing and sharing, and for all of you watching and being part of this with us. And please find all of the artists' social media and links in the description, and also the donation link to donate to the National Bailout. And we'll see you tomorrow.
Awesome.
Thanks, Gunnar.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.